There comes a moment in every life where silence becomes loud, where the battles you never spoke about start speaking back to you, where the weight on your shoulders begins to feel heavier than anything you have ever lifted. And in that moment, when your heart is trembling between fear and faith, a whisper rises in your spirit, a whisper that refuses to bow to darkness, a whisper that says, "Look up, lift your eyes, your help is coming." Sometimes the environment you see tells you nothing good can come from here. Nothing can change, nothing can shift, nothing can break. But deep down, something in you knows that this time is different, this battle is different, this season is different. Not because the mountain moved, but because something inside you began to rise higher than the mountain in front of you. Something inside you began to remember who walks with you, who fights for you, who covers you, who lifts you, who holds you. Something inside you rose up and said, "I will lift my eyes unto the hills, from whence comes my help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." And suddenly, your spirit begins to breathe again. Suddenly, your heart begins to steady again. Suddenly, the fear that tried to swallow you begins to weaken. Because revelation has entered the room. You are not standing by yourself. You are not crying by yourself. You are not fighting by yourself. Every tear has been counted. Every injustice has been seen. Every attack has been noted. Every scheme has been recorded. And heaven has already issued a response. Because when the enemy sends trouble, God sends help. When the enemy sends darkness, God sends light. When the enemy sends fear, God sends strength. And when the enemy thinks he has written your ending, God rewrites your beginning. This is where the warrior in you wakes up. This is where your destiny refuses to settle. This is where the grace over your generations rises to speak. You have reached the chapter where you can no longer remain on the ground. You must rise. You must lift your eyes. So you inhale deeply, and with a trembling voice but an unshakable spirit, you begin to read the scripture that has carried millions through storms that should have drowned them. You speak it softly at first, then louder, then deeper, until it becomes the anthem of your soul. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade at your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve you from all evil. He shall preserve your soul. The Lord shall preserve your going out and your coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. And as you speak these words, something shifts in the atmosphere around you, like a seal being broken, like chains unlocking, like invisible pressure lifting from your chest. You don't just read Psalm 121, you enter it. You don't just speak the words, you become the words. Suddenly, you are aware that the God who made the heavens is not far. He is here, and he is not silent, and he is not tired, and he is not confused, and he is not intimidated by what intimidates you. He is your keeper, your guardian, your covering, your defender, your shield, your shadow in heat, your light in darkness, your preserver in battle, your help in every hour. And then the story inside you begins to rise. Because you know you have walked through valleys where you should have died. You have survived storms that were meant to erase you. You have endured nights that felt like your soul was being stretched beyond breaking. Nights where you prayed while shaking. Nights where you prayed but didn't feel anything. Nights where the prayers felt like they were hitting the ceiling. Nights where the silence of God felt louder than the attacks of the enemy. Nights where the enemy whispered, "Where is your God now?" And you almost believed him. But somewhere in that darkness, a hand you could not see held you together. A voice you could not hear carried you through. A strength you could not explain kept your mind from collapsing. A covering you did not understand protected you from attacks you didn't even know were happening. That was Psalm 121 in action before you ever read it. That was God preserving your soul when you didn't even know your soul was being targeted. Because there are attacks that come quietly. Attacks that don't show up in the physical, but manifest in your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions, your atmosphere. Attacks that drain you without leaving a mark. Attacks that breathe confusion into moments that should be clear. Attacks that whisper lies into places where truth should live. Attacks that make you exhausted, but you haven't moved. Attacks that make you anxious, but nothing has changed. Attacks that make you cry, but you don't know why. These are not natural battles. They are spiritual. They are invisible. They are subtle. They come like shadows. They come like cold winds, hitting your soul without warning. But Psalm 121 reveals something the enemy does not want you to know. Your keeper does not sleep. Every arrow is seen. Every scheme is scanned. Every trap is detected. Every ambush is exposed. Every enemy is monitored. Every witchcraft assignment is intercepted. Every demonic whisper is recorded. Nothing passes the eyes of the one who keeps you. And then revelation breaks open. You realize that the reason you are still standing is not because you were strong. No, it is because God never took his eyes off you for 1 second. You didn't survive because you were wise. You survived because God guarded your path. You didn't make it through because you had support. You made it because heaven surrounded you. You didn't overcome because you were perfect. You overcame because grace was assigned to your name. You didn't make it because you had resources. You made it because God preserved your going out and your coming in. You are here today because the keeper of Israel kept you too. And when you begin to see this, peace begins to settle into your heart like oil. The anxiety melts. The confusion quiets. The fear loses its grip because you understand that you are not alone and have never been alone. Even in the moments where you felt abandoned, even in the seasons where you felt forgotten, even in the chapters where everything was dark, God was keeping you, watching you, carrying you, preserving you. And now the question is no longer whether help will come. The question becomes whether you are ready for the help that is already on the way. Because sometimes the help of God doesn't look the way you expect. Sometimes help comes through doors that don't look spiritual. Sometimes help appears in ways that confuse your logic. Sometimes help starts with loss. Sometimes help begins with separation. Sometimes help enters your life through a closed opportunity. Sometimes help shows up through rejection. Sometimes help hides inside a storm. But every time, without exception, help arrives on time. And this is where your story merges with the prophecy of Psalm 121. Because you are entering a season where God is not only going to help you, he is going to preserve you while he helps you. He is going to preserve your mind, preserve your peace, preserve your job search, preserve your steps, preserve your destiny, preserve your calling, preserve your family, preserve your finances, preserve your health, preserve your spiritual life. You are stepping into a chapter where the attacks that used to destabilize you will no longer have power over you, because the God who keeps you neither sleeps nor slumbers, and you begin to feel fire rise inside you, a holy prophetic fire, a fire that refuses to allow fear to dictate your destiny, a fire that says, I refuse to bow to what is trying to break me. I refuse to surrender to what is trying to silence me. I refuse to stop praying. I refuse to stop believing. I refuse to stop rising. I refuse to stop fighting. I refuse to stop looking up. Because the hills are calling your eyes again. Not the hills of trouble, not the hills of challenges, but the hills of help. The hills of divine intervention, the hills of supernatural covering, the hills of angelic assistance, the hills of prophetic preservation, the hills where your story begins to shift. And as you lift your eyes, you step into the revelation that the same God who watches over nations watches over you personally. The same God who guards generations guards your footsteps. The same God who commands angels commands them concerning you. The same God who preserves destiny preserves yours. And this is where the transformation begins. Right here, in the lifting of your eyes, because the enemy fears one thing most: a believer who remembers where their help comes from, a believer who refuses to fight with their head down, a believer who refuses to walk covered in anxiety, a believer who stands up, looks towards the hills and declares, my help comes from the Lord. The enemy knows he loses his power when you remember your keeper. He loses his influence when you understand your covering. He seizes his grip when you stop looking at him and start looking up. Because help is directional, victory is directional, deliverance is directional, breakthrough is directional, and everything starts with the lifting of your eyes. This is the moment where your spirit begins to shift. This is the moment where your story begins to turn. You begin to feel the atmosphere shifting around you, as if heaven itself is leaning closer, listening to the cry emerging from the depth of your spirit. This is not the kind of prayer that comes from the lips. This is the kind of cry that rises from the wounds you never explained, the fears you never voiced, the exhaustion you kept hidden behind your strength. This is the kind of cry that makes eternity pause, because when a child of God lifts their eyes and calls for help, all of heaven responds. You feel the weight of your past season melting away, not because the situation changed yet, but because your position changed. You are no longer looking at the storm, you are looking above it. You are no longer staring at the mountain, you are staring beyond it. And in this elevated place, you begin to understand that the attack against you was never designed to destroy you. It was designed to distract you. It was designed to make you forget who keeps you. It was designed to make you look down when you were supposed to look up. The enemy knows he cannot touch your destiny, but he tries to drain your focus. He knows he cannot rewrite your future, but he tries to fill your present with noise. He knows he cannot steal what God ordained, but he tries to make you too tired to pursue it. Many of the battles you fought were not battles of destruction. They were battles of distraction. They were designed to consume your emotional energy, your mental strength, your spiritual clarity. The confusion you felt was not random. The heaviness you carried was not accidental. The repeated disappointments were not coincidental. Every attack had an intention. Break your gaze, lower your eyes, shift your focus from the hills to the shadows around you. Because if the enemy can stop you from looking up, he can delay your help. But now you are rising again. Now you are remembering where your help comes from. Now you are reclaiming your spiritual posture. And in that moment, you become unstoppable. As you stand in this revelation, a memory awakens inside you. A time when you were at your lowest. A time when fear settled in your chest like a weight. A time when the future looked like a closed door. A time when you prayed not out of strength, but out of survival. You remember the moment your tears became your prayer, when you whispered to God without knowing if He was listening, when you asked for just enough strength to make it through the day. And yet, you made it. You survived. You rose again, and now you can see it clearly. It was Psalm 121 working behind the scenes. When you didn't know how you would stand, God held you. When you didn't know how you would escape, God opened a path you couldn't see. When you felt like you were drowning, God kept your soul. When you were surrounded by darkness, God preserved your mind. You thought the battle was killing you, but it was shaping you. You thought the storm was burying you, but it was birthing you. You thought the enemy was winning, but God was watching. And your keeper has never lost a battle. Suddenly, another revelation unfolds before you. The enemy attacks what God intends to elevate. The moment your destiny begins to shift, warfare intensifies. The moment your season begins to change, the pressure increases. The moment your help is approaching, the enemy tries to create a smokescreen. Confusion, fear, discouragement, delays, strange emotional heaviness, sudden spiritual dryness, unexpected financial pressure, relational warfare, unexplained sadness. These are not natural, they are spiritual indicators that help is near. The darker the night gets, the closer the morning is. The heavier the pressure becomes, the nearer the breakthrough stands. The more intense the attacks are, the more heaven is moving on your behalf. You are not under attack because you are weak. You are under attack because you are chosen. You are not under pressure because you are empty. You are under pressure because you are carrying something powerful. You are not being fought because you are insignificant. You are being fought because your destiny threatens darkness. But God says, I will preserve you from all evil, not some, not a portion, not partially, all. And then you feel a holy calm, a supernatural stillness, not the stillness of absence, but the stillness of presence. Like the moment before dawn breaks, like the breath before victory manifests, like the silence before God speaks. You sense that something unseen is shifting. The angels assigned to your destiny are moving. The help you cried for is being released. The guidance you requested is being arranged. The breakthrough you prayed for is being structured. Heaven has already begun the process long before you saw signs. Your duty was to look up. God's duty is to respond. And He is responding. In that stillness, your spirit begins to understand the deep spiritual laws hidden in Psalm 121. One of them is the law of divine keeping. It means God does not outsource your protection. He does not delegate your safety. He personally guards your path, your nights, your days, your mind, your soul. The sun by day will not burn you. The moon by night will not drain you. These are not poetic words. They are spiritual mysteries. The sun by day symbolizes visible attacks, the kinds of battles you can see. The The moon by night symbolizes invisible battles, the mental, emotional, and spiritual attacks you cannot see but can feel. Yet God says none of them will overpower you. None will destroy your destiny. None will touch your soul. You may feel heat, but you will not burn. You may walk in darkness, but you will not lose direction. You may face enemies, but you will not be defeated. Because your keeper is committed to your survival. Then the second spiritual law unfolds. The law of preserved destiny. The Lord will preserve your going out and your coming in. This is not merely about movement, it is about seasons. Your going out means the seasons you exit. Your coming in means the seasons you enter. God preserves your transitions. He guards your shifts. He watches over your life chapters. You have entered seasons you were not ready for, but grace sustained you. You have walked out of seasons you feared to leave, but God guided you. You have survived transitions that could have destroyed you, but God protected you. And the same God who preserved your past will preserve your future. Then comes the most powerful law of all, preservation of your soul. The enemy can attack your environment, your emotions, your relationships, but he cannot touch your soul. God has placed a spiritual firewall around your soul. This is why you can cry but not break. This is why you can be shaken but not shattered. This is why you can be wounded but still rise. This is why you can feel empty yet still choose faith. This is why the enemy failed every time he tried to destroy you. Your soul is kept, guarded, protected, preserved by the one who neither sleeps nor slumbers. And as these revelations settle into your spirit, something inside you awakens. You begin to see yourself differently. No longer as someone struggling to survive, but as someone preserved by divine power. No longer as someone trying to avoid failure, but as someone destined for elevation. No longer as someone carrying fear, but as someone carried by God. And this change in identity begins to transform everything: your decisions, your faith, your confidence, your steps, your atmosphere. Because the moment you understand who keeps you, fear loses its authority, doubt loses its influence, anxiety loses its voice, the enemy loses his access. You begin to walk like someone who is backed by heaven. You pray like someone who knows their voice shakes darkness. You rise like someone who knows their destiny is protected. You look up like someone who knows their help is already in motion. And in this rising, you begin to speak life over yourself. You begin to declare things you once feared to say. You begin to affirm truths that once felt distant. Because your spirit has caught fire, your faith has awakened, your perspective has shifted. You begin to say things like, I am preserved, I am protected, I am covered, I am lifted, I am rising, my help is coming, I will not fall, I will not break, I will not be defeated, I will not be destroyed. God is my keeper, God is my shade, God is my covering, God is my defender, God is my help. And as you speak these words, something powerful happens. Heaven responds to faith, angels respond to faith, destiny responds to faith. Because faith is the language of help. And now, with your eyes lifted and your spirit ignited, you stand at the edge of transformation. You feel it, you sense it, you know it. Something is coming, something is shifting, something is breaking, something is being released. You are stepping into a preserved season, a protected season, a divinely guided season. This is no longer survival. This is elevation. There is a moment in every spiritual journey where revelation must turn into declaration, where understanding must become warfare, where insight must become authority. You have reached that moment. Everything you have walked through, everything you have survived, everything you have endured has brought you here, to this place where your spirit refuses to remain silent, because now you understand the truth the enemy hoped you would never discover. You are preserved. You are kept. You are watched. You are assisted. You are covered. You are surrounded. And the same God who never slept while you were under attack will not sleep while you rise into destiny. Your story is shifting, not because the battle is easy, but because your keeper is faithful, and now your voice begins to tremble with fire as you prepare to declare the words that shake the foundations of darkness. You stand taller now. The weight that was pressing on your chest begins to break. The fog that clouded your mind begins to clear. You can feel the presence of God thick around you, like a blanket of light covering every part of your being. You inhale deeply, and the breath you release carries the strength of generations. The battles you fought were not just for you, they were for your lineage, your children, your destiny, and the mantle resting on your life. Grace for generations is not just a theme, it is a spiritual reality, and now you are stepping into it fully. Your spirit rises, and you begin to speak with authority. My help comes from the Lord. You say it again, this time with conviction. My help comes from the Lord. And heaven echoes it back. Every word you release becomes a sword in the realm of the Spirit. Every declaration becomes a strike against the plans of darkness. Every breath becomes warfare. Fire begins to move in your voice. The atmosphere shifts. Angels take position. The battles that used to threaten you now tremble at your rising. This is not weakness speaking. This is divine authority. This is not pain speaking. This is destiny speaking. This is not fear speaking. This is faith speaking. You begin to declare with holy boldness, "The Lord is my keeper." And something breaks in the invisible realm. You feel it. A chain snaps, a weight lifts, a shadow disappears. The Lord is my shade, another chain breaks. The Lord preserves my soul, another weight collapses. The Lord preserves my going out and my coming in, another attack is dismantled. These are not just scriptures, these are spiritual weapons. Psalm 121 is not a comforting passage. It is a divine shield. It is God's legal decree over your life, and now you enforce that decree with your voice. Your spirit begins to stir with prophetic fire. Words begin to rise from a place deeper than your emotions. These words come from your destiny. You speak them with authority. I declare every hidden attack sent against me will fail. I declare every spiritual trap set for me is exposed and destroyed. I declare every arrow of discouragement returns back to the sender. I declare every whisper of fear is silenced by the voice of God. I declare every spirit of heaviness is broken off my life. I declare every demonic assignment collapses under the power of God. I declare every confusion is replaced with divine clarity. I declare every delay breaks. I declare every closed door opens according to the will of God. I declare my soul is preserved. My destiny is preserved. My family is preserved. My future is preserved. My purpose is preserved. My spirit is preserved. My breakthrough is preserved. My journey is preserved. Because the Lord is my keeper. And as you speak these declarations, your faith rises higher. You begin to feel strength you haven't felt in months. You begin to feel hope returning, like sunrise breaking through a long night. You begin to feel courage settling into your bones. You begin to feel peace anchoring your emotions. And then something powerful happens. You begin to pray not from a place of need, but from a place of victory. You say, "Father, in the name of Jesus, I lift my eyes to you. I surrender every fear, every burden, every unknown, and every battle. I acknowledge you as my helper, my keeper, my defender, my shield, and my preserver. I thank you for watching over me in seasons where I felt alone. I thank you for preserving my soul when I was under silent attack. I thank you for protecting my mind from collapsing under pressure. I thank you for guiding my steps even when I couldn't see the direction. You have been faithful in every season." Then your tone shifts. Your prayer becomes warfare. "Lord, let every evil agenda assigned against my life be dismantled by fire. Let every demonic trap be uncovered and destroyed. Let every spiritual attack projected against my destiny be returned to the sender. Let every dark plan formed in secret be exposed by your light. Let every weapon formed against me backfire. Let every voice speaking against me be silenced. Let every mountain standing before me be moved. Let every delay be broken. Let every chain be shattered. Let every stronghold be pulled down. Let every satanic opposition collapse under your power. Surround me with your angels. Cover me with your shadow. Preserve me with your presence." Then your prayer becomes prophetic. I speak over my life. I am rising. I am protected. I am kept. I am shielded. I am carried. I am lifted. I am guided. I am strengthened. I am empowered. I am covered. I am untouchable by darkness. My steps are ordered. My path is cleared. My destiny is unfolding. My help is on the way. The God who keeps me is making a way where there seems to be no way. The God who keeps me is preserving me from all evil. The God who keeps me is fighting battles I cannot see. The God who keeps me is arranging divine connections. The God who keeps me is aligning opportunities. The God who keeps me is releasing provision. The God who keeps me is working behind the scenes, and no power of darkness can stop what God has started in my life. Your spirit continues to ascend. You feel the fire building. This is the moment where breakthrough happens. This is where your voice becomes a weapon of deliverance for you, for your family, for your generations. Your voice becomes a declaration of identity. You say, I am a child of God. I am watched by the one who never sleeps. I am covered by the one who never. I am protected by the one who reigns forever. I am preserved by the one who created heaven and earth. Therefore no evil will overpower me, no darkness will swallow me, no fear will define me, no enemy will defeat me, no attack will destroy me, no weapon will prosper. Your heart begins to soften, and gratitude floods your spirit. This is the Thanksgiving moment, the moment where the fire settles into deep peace. You say, Lord, thank you for being my keeper. Thank you for being my help. Thank you for being my protector. Thank you for every unseen battle you fought for me. Thank you for every danger you pulled me out of. Thank you for every tear you counted. Thank you for every night you watched over me. Thank you for every morning you allowed me to rise. Thank you for preserving my soul. Thank you for guiding my going out and my coming in. Thank you for being faithful even when I was tired. Thank you for being strong when I was weak. Thank you for being near when I felt alone. Thank you for being. Your voice becomes tender, yet powerful. You say, Father, I trust you. I lift my eyes to you every day of my life. Lead me, keep me, guide me, strengthen me, and let my life be a testimony of your preservation. Use me for your glory. Establish me, elevate me, empower me, and let every step I take bring honor to your name. And now, in true prophetic moment, you shift into the final moment, the moment that seals everything in the Spirit. You say, from this day forward, I walk in preservation, I walk in protection, I walk in divine help, I walk in grace, I walk in destiny, I walk in victory, I walk in confidence, I walk in faith, I walk with my eyes lifted, and nothing, absolutely nothing, will stop the plan of God for my life. I am kept, I am preserved, I am lifted, I am rising. Your voice grows softer, yet stronger. You feel the fire settling as peace wraps around your heart, and you conclude with the atmosphere of faith, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. If this prayer blessed you, if this message lifted your spirit, if this word spoke to your heart, take a moment now. Like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs divine help today. And write your name in the comments so I can pray for you personally. Welcome to Grace for Generations, where destinies are lifted, battles are won, and help always comes from the Lord. And with that final atmosphere of power and peace, this spiritual moment is sealed in fire, drenched in prophecy, overflowing with grace, and destined to transform everyone who hears it.